Hey everybody, One Empire here. You can see the screen. I've got a recipe for you. There's some onions to start out with, just chopped up, and measuring spoon. I'm gonna do a large teaspoon of garlic, mix it in with the onions. You'll see what happens. This was inspired by a great outdoor cooking channel. Link in the description, along with Adam Liaw, and I don't know if I butchered that or not. He has a really good teriyaki sauce recipe and a quick, easy, delicious 5-minute teriyaki chicken recipe. I kind of took some elements from both of those videos in my own experience making teriyaki, and I'm doing these chicken thighs here. I put too much oil in there. Really you only need maybe a tablespoon or so. I think it was vegetable oil or canola oil. You can use whatever you prefer. Since it's going to be cooking on medium heat, you could even use something like olive oil and not have to worry about smoke points or anything like that, as long as you control your temperature. So I've got 3 pieces so far out of 4. And if you're wondering, my chopsticks are a titanium chopstick. I love them. I've had them about 5 years. I put a link in the description for those as well as something that is similar, because the particular brand I have is not for sale anymore. Not a big deal because they've improved on it. I'm not going to get any commission for those links or if you buy that stuff, but I just wanted to share for you. So all I'm doing right now is kind of moving the chicken around so that the skin can brown and not stick to the bottom of this steel pan. I'm a cast iron person, but I am not anywhere near my cast iron pans at the time of filming, so got to work with what you got and try and figure out those skills. So now they've been cooking about 8 to 10 minutes. They could even go longer on medium heat, and got a little bit of browning there. I figure it was good enough, so go ahead and flip them and get on to the next part of cooking. If you're in a hurry or you don't care about browning, or you take the skins off, this step is completely unnecessary, and you can put your skinned with or without bone chicken thighs or breasts in here. I recommend the bone-in breast or thighs because bone-in thighs cook slower and they have much less of a tendency to dry out and overcook, especially on low heat. So there's a little bit more of an error margin for you there. So next up, we've got our onion garlic mixture. A nice little close-up there. And because I don't have a lot of time at the end of the video, I'll talk about what the results were. They came out really good. I had too much mayo. This teriyaki is Kikkoman teriyaki sauce. It's not the liquidy kind. Obviously it's much thicker, and it has garlic and sesame seeds that you can see in there, and it's very strong, and a little bit goes a long way. And because of that, I'm only using about maybe a fifth of a bottle, and I'm gonna build off of that and make my own kind of take on teriyaki sauce with some soy sauce, maybe 3 tablespoons, maybe 1/4 cup, and then some brown sugar. This is light brown sugar just because that's what I had handy. So I'm going to put in another probably 2 to 3 tablespoons. It wasn't very sweet despite what you might think. So if you like it sweeter or maybe thicker, you can go ahead and add more. Maybe take it up to a 1/4 cup or something for this size of recipe. And I put in a little bit of honey to kind of add another dimension of sweetness and flavor to it. Totally optional, but I had some and I said, why not? So we're talking maybe a teaspoon, probably a little less. You can put more if you want. Now this is the Lost Lake, I believe is the brand of beer from Wisconsin. It's a Pilsner. I just happen to have it in my fridge. And it's not bad. It's an okay beer, and it was like $4 for a 6-pack, so why not? And there you go, pour it in. We're going to go ahead and mix everything up, make sure all the onions are in the liquid. So one of the things that I wasn't able to do was thicken it. If you don't know how to thicken this stuff, typically I think it's a tablespoon of cornstarch to 2 tablespoons of water. Comment below, let me know if that's correct. And you want to mix it in before it gets too hot, and then bring it up to a boil again, and then it'll thicken that stuff up into a nice, kind of like what I poured on top from that Kikkoman bottle. If you like that really thick, sticky gravy, which I prefer, because you'll see at the end it's very watery and runny. So here's how you make some rice. I fast forwarded it, I think 4x or 8x or something. You see how many times I washed the rice. You just keep doing it until the water is clear as you want it. This is an optional step, but it really helps the grains from turning into mush and sticking together really bad. So after 20 minutes or so, you pour off the rice and let all the excess drain out. Drain it for a couple more minutes to make sure every drop is gone. I have this 16-ounce hydro flask that actually holds more than that, and whatever that amount is, I fill it up to the brim, and it seems to work really well for 2 cups of rice. And this is 2 actual cups of rice, not if you have a rice maker. 2 cups of rice is different than if you use measuring cups. So this is 2 measuring cups. Turn it on high, bring it to a boil. As soon as the boil starts, turn it to low. Cook it 10 to 13 minutes. At 10 minutes or so, if you don't know how to do this, take a peek. If you see any water in there still, turn it or close it and give it a couple more minutes. Once the water's absorbed, turn that thing off, take it off the heat, and put it like on a trivet or a towel or something. Start your timer for 10 minutes, and then once that time's up, get your fork or your rice paddle or a spoon and fluff it up. Just kind of move it around, because it'll stick to itself pretty quickly if you don't do that. So half an hour wasn't long enough, but I let it go for about 2 hours, and this is on low, maybe just a little bit above low. And what ended up happening was I had a little bit of oil, kind of a lot of oil, and all that fat rendered out, and I had like half of that sauce was fat. So I went with that spoon and kind of gently skimmed it off the top and threw it in that beer can, that empty beer can. And this is where you would add your cornstarch water mixture. You could possibly do a flour water mixture, but I don't really know. And then thicken it up. You take your chicken out, thicken it up, and put the chicken back in. So what I'm doing here is just taking some rice. This is more for the plating effect, completely optional. But if you have a vessel or some type of a container that you can do this, it makes your presentation a little bit more fun and enjoyable, because you eat with your eyes first. So take the nicest looking thigh there with my super watery sauce that actually was really good. I would want some spice in there, but I know teriyaki isn't always spicy, so this is just kind of for everybody. Take a little couple taps on that rice, and it doesn't quite fit on the plate right, but I'm not a master chef. I'm just a guy in a hotel room on YouTube. So that's the chili garlic paste from the famous guys who make sriracha, Hoi Fong Foods, I think it's called. Trying to be fancy here. And I put way too much of this mayo. If you have Japanese mayo, it's better. Just a little dab, about 1/3 to 1/2 of what you see there was more than enough. And then because I had some spinach on hand and I feel like this color would balance it out a little bit, I'm just kind of messing around here, experimenting. But that's about it. As you'll see in a second here, the chicken came out really nice, and the skin was amazing. I'm not a huge chicken skin fan, but I found it very appetizing and totally edible. And the rice was actually really, really well cooked, nicely cooked. And the chicken just comes right off. It was not overcooked, it was not dry, and it was very tender, very moist, and tasty. So what I was doing for a serving suggestion, aside from what you see here, is take a little dip in that chili garlic sauce. It's not as spicy as sriracha if you're used to that. And then just a tiny dab of mayo. That's all it is. And then follow that with a bite of rice. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. See you. One Empire signing off.